Alright, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, we got a great one for you tonight. We have none other than the legendary T-Money of Original Concept and Yo MTV Raps. How you doing this evening?
Yo, I'm chilling, brother. I'm chilling. That's what I do, man. I do my chill out. You know what I mean? I get my work and my physical on. That's how I get down. You dig?
Oh man, most definitely. And I know you're a busy guy, T-Money, so I'm going to jump right into this interview. But I have to ask you, what made you decide to get into the music industry from the beginning?
Oh, wow. That's an interesting question. Myself and Dr. Dre, as you well know, one of my partners from Young T Raps grew up in Long Island, not too far from Public Enemy and you know the Public Enemy and Flavor Flav and Chuck D. So my first thing, you know, the God that blessed me with was to play sports. So I played sports when I was in high school. I was pretty good. You know, you ever heard that expression, the older you get, the better you were? But that definitely applies to me. So, but I was pretty good, man. So, and what happened was, I was always into the music. I mean, I was raised in a home, and my parents, they play all different types of music. And I was exposed to all kind of music as a kid. And you know, and I did music class and all that stuff in school. So, you know, and that's what me and Dre we were in band together. You know, we had always had some sort of musical background. So back in the day when hip hop started taking off, you know, we used to go to the clubs, and I used to bring my cassette recorder where I would actually tape, you know, people like Flash and the Disco Twins and, you know, Kool Herc, and I used to go and bring the tapes back to the hood and sell the tapes. You know what I mean? So and then that sparked us to say, okay, well, we can do this too. We can DJ ourselves. You understand?
Yeah.
So we started DJing, and you know, we became local celebrities. You know, and from there, you know, it just started taking off.
And as we already know, you are the member of one of the most probably influential and one of the best hip hop groups of all time called Original Concept. And yourself, along with Dr. Dre, was a part of that. But I have to ask you, how did you meet the other two group members? And, what's the story behind that iconic rap group?
Easy G Rockwell was the let me get it right. I think he was the 1984 or the 1983 Union Discriminator DJ Express champion. Let's keep that 100. But we all grew up in the same neighborhood. You know, we're from Newcastle, Long Island. Newcastle stand up. You know, is predominantly when we were growing up, predominantly black community. You know what I mean? Anything that you would probably see in Compton or anywhere else, you would see in Newcastle. I mean, it was a middle class upbringing, but you know, a lot of things were going on there. So we all went to high school together. You know, we were as a matter of fact, Rapper G and Dr. Dre lived on the same block. You know what I mean? So and then we became really close, and as we were putting, you know, as we were putting the DJ group together, we incorporated Easy G because Easy G was really phenomenal on turntables. You know what I mean? And we were in constant battles with different groups around town to get work. You know, to have people hire us. So we wanted to have the best DJs. So we put Easy G down with us. You know what I mean? And then we started doing. We got our deal at Def Jam years later. You know, Rapper G became part of our group. You know, because I was the only rapper. I mean, Jay was really the DJ of the group, and I was the only rapper. So we wanted to get another rapper, so we put Rapper G down with the group.
And I also remember when you guys did work with the Beastie Boys as well. One of the members of the Beastie Boys, man, that was iconic.
You know, Jay was a DJ on tour for quite some time, and I took it upon myself. And, you know, the Beasties, the Beasties, man. You know, God bless Ad Rock, man. The Beasties, that whole experience was crazy. Because at some point in time, we started wearing clothes like them. You know, we started acting like we were like the black punk rock group. Original Concept. We were crazy, but yeah, Dre DJ with them for quite some time, and I took it upon myself Beastie Boys and the way they used to trash hotels and everything was legendary. And can you just imagine me road managing them, not knowing what I'm doing? I had to call Rush. I was calling the office every 20 minutes, like, yo, what am I supposed to be doing out here? I had no concept of what I was supposed to be doing, but it was a learning experience.
And I heard the Beastie Boys, man, they were great guys, but I heard they were crazy as well. You know what I mean? They loved to party.
Yeah, they were fun. These guys, the Beastie guys, man. And that's what made them so special. I mean, you say a lot about. They always talk about, well, they're white rappers and they don't get respect. Beastie's good. They should get a lot of respect. They were very talented. They came from that punk rock vein. They really loved rap music. I mean, to this day, they still do. Peace to Mike and Ad Rock and Adam. You know what I mean? So they're official, man. So and it was a great time. Where me and Jay were coming up in the game, man, and we had great experiences. And being with them, actually taught us a lot about the road and the things that we would eventually put to use when we got on television.
And speaking of like international touring, Original Concept actually began touring internationally with Queen Latifah on her very first tour. I have to ask you, what was it like touring with her? And did you kind of see the potential in her that she would really become a huge household name during those times?
Yeah, I mean, her and DJ Mark the 45 King, actually, they went on tour with us. It was our tour. It was called the Don't Wear Your Good Clothes tour. It was Queen Latifah, DJ Mark the 45 King, and we went to we did a tour of London and all overseas. It was great. And Latifah, yeah, I mean, I think when she was on the tour, I think she was 16, maybe 15 years old. She was young. She was very young when she put out her first single. And saw the talent in her. And then speaking to her when she was young, she was mature about what she wanted to do with her career at the time. She was smart and mature. And she talked about things that, us as her elders weren't even discussing. She was discussing, what she wanted to do in relation to fashion and, how she wanted to be some sort of entrepreneur. I mean, these are the things that are coming out of the mouth of a 16-year-old. You understand? So we automatically saw potential, and I always thought that she would be a big star, and she made that happen.
And when you actually said she was like 15, 16 when she dropped her first single, I always thought she was older than that. So that's kind of a mind blower for myself.
Yeah, she was no more than 15 or 16 when she put out I forgot the name of the single, but when she put out that song, she couldn't have been no more than that, because I remember us having a conversation in the van, because we took this van. This van was so narrow, we were always scared to death that the van was going to tip over because there were so many vans. And the guy, and over there at that time, you could be on the highway doing 100. So this guy the guy that was driving us around, he was flying, my G. He was flying down the highway, and I was like, yo, at some point in time, we got like a little petrified, like, my man, he's taking turns in a narrow van. I figured that we were going to do a flip, and there was going to be no more Latifah, Dr. Dre, T-Money, DJ Mark. Nobody was going to even know that we were killed on the highway. But yeah, she could have been no older than that. Because we had this conversation about her age, and I was like, wow, I was really fascinated by the fact that she was so intelligent at the time.
And before we move off the Original Concept part of things, in '98, this is one thing I've always wanted to know. You guys released the only album called Straight from the Basement of Cooley High. I have to ask you, what's the story behind that iconic record, and what made you guys only decide to put out one record?
Well, it's not like we wanted to put out one record. I mean, Def Jam actually, we had issues in regards to putting out a second album. There was a whole lot of conflict that we had in relation to the money, in relation to whether or not they felt we were worth it. So we come to terms in regards to that. And the best part of that was when we came off the road with the Beasties, and we were looking to get our second album out. We, Young TV Rap we didn't put a lot of emphasis on doing it at the time, but it's just still sticking in my core and Dre's core pretty much. Something that we really wanted to do. But the album, the concept of the album, we discussed. I mean, a lot of the stuff that we did at the time, you know, we were just doing things, making records from our heart. It was the first time we were recording artists, and we were actually enjoying our time, you know, creating songs, and, you know, we experimented with frequencies in relation to the bass sound. I mean, original concept, myself and Dr. J, by the way, are the founders of bass music, which Luke Skywalker actually took and, you know, and made a lot of his songs with, you know. So yeah, man, you know, we had a great time working on that record, you know. You know, I'm still trying to get the true sales figures on that record. It was still in the store selling, you know, when myself and Drake got on television. So I think the sales, you know, sales weren't exactly told to us correctly when we went to retrieve our sales. And I believe that it's still a lot more than what we were told. But, you know, it was still a great effort by us, and we are really proud of it.
And after Original Concept, you actually became a host on Yo MTV Raps. And I believe at the beginning you were like called the Letterman or something like that. You like read letters on the air. I have to ask you, how did you get connected with MTV? And of course, what's the story behind you getting on Yo MTV Raps?
Well, it was pretty simple. I mean, what happened was Dre and Ed were asked to audition separately for Yo MTV Raps. And you gotta understand at that time, myself and Dre were DJing. We were in the city. I mean, we were two kids from Long Island that frequented the city. We were in the city every day. I mean, we would get in my father's van, or we would get in Dre's mom's Datsun 280Z. But both the seats were broken. I mean, we were hungry. You understand? So we were always trying to, you know, do the next thing and evolve to the next thing. When Peter Doherty gave Dre the opportunity to audition for the show, I was like, Dre, do that, man, you know. And so I was at the show and at the studio and at MTV. I was there, you know, when Dre and Ed were there every day, you know. And then what happened was Ted Demme, one of the creators, and God bless Ted Demme and Peter Doherty, by the way, R.I.P. He had the idea because we were getting, Yo was getting so much fan mail at the time that they needed somebody to read the mail. And I still had a part-time job. I had worked at, actually no, I wasn't working, but I had worked at it. So we were always talking about how I worked at FedEx, and the Beastie Boys used to like my FedEx jacket. I used to wear the jacket. So and Peter said, okay. I'm sorry, I hope that didn't go over when I was calling my phone. So they wanted me to read the mail on the air. So I started reading the mail on the air once a week and then twice a week. And then, you know, that role turned into me doing characters. So I would write and develop characters on the show. And then, you know, that developed in me being a regular on the show. And then I started hosting the show. A lot of times, if Ed and Dre and I weren't there, I would host the show myself. Like, you know, I did a show with Jada Pinkett. I did several shows. So, you know, it just evolved over time, you know. And, you know, I became a Yo MTV Rap staple, you know. So that's how it happened.
And I'm pretty sure you probably received like some really wonky mail, you know what I mean? But was there any letters that stood out to you that you still kind of remember today?
No, not really. I don't really remember any of the letters. Because, you know, a lot of them, none of them were bad because we sifted through them, you know. And we didn't really have any bad letters anyway. But it was, I think one letter, it was somebody sent their underwear. Some girl sent her panties through the mail. I think she had a thing for Ed and she sent her panties. I thought that was hilarious, but we couldn't actually read that on air. But it was really funny.
Well, you know what? Hey, you gotta commit her. Like she tried. You know what I mean? Like She put her heart into that one.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no question, man. She tried it, but it didn't really work. And you could tell that that she put effort in because the panties were brand like her panties. They were brand new. They had the tag still on them, so but the little it really wasn't working.
So I have to ask you, what is one of your most memorable moments as being on the set of Yo MTV Raps? And as we already know, you hosted it. So what was one of your most memorable interviews as well?
We did so many. Um, we had let's see, a couple people came on that I thought were really cool. At the time, the Bill Cosby interview was big. Um, that was before all the stuff happened with him. Bill Cosby was on the show. I think James Brown is probably one of the biggest interviews we ever did. Um, James Brown was a big thing. You got to understand that was the gut of soul. Starting James Brown and Ed actually did the Ed Lover dance that day with James Brown. I mean, Hollywood couldn't even script that one. That was just an incredible moment.
And before we move off the Yo MTV part of things, the one thing I've always wanted to know, and I'm not 100% sure if you were on the set at this current time, but I remember at one point Tupac, he was kind of going on one of his normal, Tupac rants. But I think it was about the Hughes brothers, so I think that's maybe around 92, 93 criteria. Were you there on set when he kind of went off script and people had to hold his his mouth to get him to be quiet? Were you there for that?
Yeah, I was standing there, but I wasn't on camera. But I was standing right there, and if you watch the video, you can see what happened. He just, he started spazzing on them because of the situation and what happened. That was another iconic moment on Yo as well. It was tough. It was a tough time. The police actually sequestered that video, for his trial and everything else. He got him in a lot of trouble at the time. But hey, things like that happen. Unfortunately. But it was interesting, man. That was a really crazy time.
I was actually just going to ask if that was scripted or not, but if the cops requested it, then I can clearly tell
Uh,
that it wasn't scripted. That was all 100%
no,
real.
no, it wasn't. That was nothing. Nothing. Keep in mind stuff that we did on Yo. I mean, we did have the teleprompter that we would read from, but we would usually use the bullet points from it. A lot of stuff was not scripted. We did a lot of things that off the cuff, man. Because we were in tune with the culture. We were able to do these type of things, I mean, to be honest with you, if when I look back on it, if we had to do this again, it probably wouldn't be the same because we were so part of what was going on musically and so part of the hip hop culture. We understood the music. I mean, keep in mind something. For many years in the beginning of Yo, myself, Dre, and Ed actually sat down and we programmed the show. Like the videos that you see playing, the Ice Cubes, the Queen Latifahs, the Ice T's, the NWA videos, all these videos, we actually programmed the show. It wasn't some other person that got a job at acquisitions and say, okay, well, this might be a good video, this might be a good video, let's put this here. No, we did it ourselves because we understood what was hot in the street, and they eventually took that power away from us. That's a whole nother topic, but we programmed the show itself.
And also, speaking of Tupac as well, you in 1992 you were also in Tupac's first lead role acting movie titled Juice. I have to ask you, how did that come to be for you, being part of that role? And of course, who did you portray in that movie?
Myself, and we betrayed ourselves. You were watching a movie and it say that he played himself. We were just in the movie as extras because they had a lot of hip hop celebrities in the movie. Latifah was in it. You know, there were a lot of people in it. So, and we were just there on the balcony because we were part of the DJ competition at the time. And we were part of the audience. So, I don't even think we didn't even have a speaking role. So we were just extras when we played ourselves.
Because I'm gonna say that's one of my favorite Tupac Shakur movies. Like I think I watched that movie like tons of times. When I was doing my research for this interview last night, I was sitting back. I'm like, wait, what? Like he really is in the movie? And literally, now that you say it, I actually picture you in the movie, and it's like, whoa, man, it blew my mind.
Yeah, that's where we were at. Tupac was um, Tupac was ahead of his time. And I often wonder what kind of man he would have been today. With all this political, um, with this political climate. I just wonder what kind of man he would be at this point. I think he would have been a great person, a great man, a great leader of people. Because he had that in him. As a 20-something-year-old youngster, he had that in him.
He most definitely was well ahead of his time. Like even with his music, he really predicted a lot of the future as well.
Yeah, without question. He already knew. This guy, um, he was a smart man. You know. Unfortunately, he's no longer here. But and it saddens me that to know about these people that passed away. Their life, was wasted. Because they could have been great. As time progressed. They were just tipping the surface. Just of how great they could have been. Tupac did so much in so little time. Can you imagine what he would have done in 20 years? You know, it'd have been ridiculous. He'd have been out of here. He could have ran for president. Forget Conway. When Kanye ran for president, he could have been running for president. Real easy. So.
And you also were a DJ on the hit game show Lip Service. I have to ask you, what was that experience like being part of
Yeah.
that game show?
That was really cool. The great Jay Moore, Mr. Jay Moore, the comedian. I had a fun time. That was cool. We won a Cable Ace Award. Our show did really well. MTV after a couple of seasons, they dropped the show. I think, and Jay and myself went. We parted ways. We went to do different things. But it was an experience, man. It was good. Because MTV was at the time they were doing a lot of new programming, and and that show they invested a lot of energy and time into putting that show together, and it paid dividends. I'm not too sure why they moved on from it, but I know that when me and Jay did it, it was very popular, and it gave me an opportunity to meet uh, a lot of people that wouldn't have normally been on your MTV Raps. I actually met um, the lady from The Exorcist, which was really funny. When I saw her, I said, "Wow, she kind of frightened me because as a child, you watch The Exorcist and you see the lady with her head spins around, and then when you actually see this person in real life, it was like surreal to me. It was like, oh shoot, this is the lady that was spitting up green stuff out our face. You know what I mean? So it was kind of bugged out, but it was a great experience. And Jay Moore was a great host. He did a great job. Um, that's that's probably why has been so successful in doing movies too. Because you could tell in him that he had the talent.
And quickly, if you don't mind, for our listeners that are like of the younger generation that are listening, what was the game show Lip Service like based upon? Like, what was the concept of the game show?
Well, it's a competition. You know what I mean? So you would come out. I would play the record, and then you would lip sync over the music. You know, and you would be performing, and then your performance would be judged by the people, by the panel. They had just like these shows right now. As you would go and perform, where you would have people, judging you. It's the same thing. So. And whoever wins, whoever the judges say did a better job performing, won that round, and they would move on to the next round. You know,
It sounds very similar to LL Cool J's lip sync battle.
it sounds similar to that. To a lot of the shows. All those. The Masked Singer. You know, so it's the same concept. But it was but think about how you know it was back then. It was a little more primitive. You know, it wasn't as high tech and high advanced and as it is now. But it was the same premise. You know, it was fun. It was fun. You know, you got the chance to see people act silly. You know, it was really cool.
And also, for 5 years from 1990 to 95, you actually joined MTV Spring Break. I have to ask you, what was that experience like being able to just experience some of the most memorable outdoor concerts?
Well, if you're on MTV at a certain time, especially back in the '90s, you had a show on MTV. You did a show, um, and you know if your show is, if it's on MTV, obviously it has some popularity. But like, Break was MTV's Super Bowl, so it it culminated in like grimaces, thousands of screaming teenagers and young adults, wild parties. It was just, beautiful weather. It was just the ultimate. Um, if you think about it, MTV's, you know, for the most part, they had a whole staff of people, and if you think about how they had to put everything together just to do Spring Break. Spring Break was at one time a really, really big deal. You know, Daytona Beach, they actually took over the whole town, and they brought hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue to the city. You know, it became a big deal. That's why I equated to the Super Bowl because it's the same thing to a degree. You know, and they'll bring these big stars in. You know, it was just a huge deal. You know, and we had a great time, and it was a great experience. It was an eye-opening experience as well to see that our music, and when I say our music, I mean our hip hop music, can generate so much interest. Live, you know. I mean, it's different. You pipe it in everybody's living room or on their television bedroom, but to see it live is a totally different thing. You know. So it was amazing.
One of my most memorable moments of MTV Spring Break, and I think I was like 3 or 4 years old, and I remember this. I remember watching Biggie Smalls performing Juicy on MTV Spring Break when I was a young kid with my parents. Man, that was actually a surreal moment. I didn't understand what Biggie was saying because I was too young, but I knew the song was catchy.
No question. No doubt. The Biggie Smalls, bro. Notorious B.I.G. R.I.P. Man. He's one of the greatest that ever touched the microphone. And again, he was yet to reach his full potential, man. He was struck down. That's the sad part about it, man. You look at how, how their lives were cut short, you know? And it didn't have to happen that way, man. It just didn't have to happen that way. It's incredibly sad and discouraging to think that, a young black man, could, with so much promise in his life, his life could be taken away from him, you know? So, it happens. It happens a lot, man. It happens to a lot of men who don't have the same notoriety too. It's just, and it's usually us killing ourselves, unfortunately. And this is something that we really not doing. I mean, because it's not making any sense. It's at the point now where it's just beyond stupid. You know the deal. We can't keep doing this to ourselves, man. So all we're doing is hurting ourselves no more.
And I most definitely agree with that as well. Biggie only made 2 CDs before he passed away. Just imagine if he was still here. Like, in my personal opinion, he was one of the most lyrical geniuses, I heard that he actually took the song Juicy and he freestyled the entire song. And that's talent, man, to be able to make a hit song that's still listened, like, worldwide today and you freestyled it. That's pure talent.
Yeah, he's a prolific writer. Usually as an MC, and I can't speak for all MCs, but I can tell you about writing because I used to write. But, if you write so much, like if you write tentative, you can always refer back to it if you have a good memory. So if you hear the music you wrote, so if no one's heard it before, then hey, you can kill it, you know. But you have to be able to be prolific as a writer. You have to be able to write, and Big was a great writer, you know. Just like Jay-Z, just like Tupac. Tupac was a writer. I think not the last time, but one of the last times I spoke out, we were on the set of Ren, and me and him were in one of the production vans talking, and he was wrong then. I didn't. I wish I would have asked him what song he was writing, but he was writing as he was speaking to me. You know, it was interesting. But these guys are great. They were great talents. Every time I think about their death, the first thing I think about is how they were cut down so short, and how they could have contributed to our society today. What kind of men would they have been today? You gotta ask yourself that question. You know.
And also, aside from the MTV and the original concept point of things, you actually developed your own promotion, management, and marketing company called T450 Style and Launch. I have to ask you, what made you decide to start your own company, and how can our listeners contact you for your services?
Well, I wanted to create something. It's great to be in this business and you know and host shows and do certain things, but I wanted to actually create something that I could call my own. You know, um, and so I started my business because I was a marketing major at NYU, and I was a communications major at New York Institute of Technology. And I had years of experience with working with the music industry, behind the scenes things like promotions and film and television. So I decided to make my own company that actually does projects, special entertainment projects, and we do marketing and we do entertainment marketing and promotion. And I decided to actually put that together, and I wish somebody would have told me how hard it is, actually, how much hard work it is, but it's paying dividends, and and I actually promote anyone who is interested in actually starting their own company because it gives you a feeling of independence. You know, um, you live this life now. Most people, and I'm not going to say that there's something wrong with having a good job, but there's nothing wrong with it. But if you're able to actually work and own whatever you're doing, and be your own boss, there's no greater experience than that. You understand? Because you have to find out what you love doing and create a business around it. And do that for the rest of your life. You can't match that with anything else. Working for somebody else, because all the energy you're going to be putting in for the next 25 years, all your energy, all your effort is going to be to benefit someone else.
And I most definitely agree, man.
All the entrepreneurs. You know what I'm saying?
And
Um, yeah, you can get in touch with me. I got my website is weart450.com, www.weart450.com, and you can check me out at T450 on Instagram, and at Tyrone Kelsey T450 at on Facebook. So you can check out my pages, check out everything I post, and we're about to come out with merchandise too. So I'm gonna have the Shopify link really soon. So I'll post that, and we're gonna have clothes. We're gonna sell clothing. We're gonna do that whole thing too. So it's gonna be cool. We're gonna do our thing.
so I have to ask you, T Money, what is next for you? Is there anything else I happened to miss during this interview? Anything else you still want to promote with our live audience? Will we still have you here on the air?
But well, to your live audience, just I want you to stay tuned for us. You know, because we're not done yet. When I say us, I mean the Lover Dr. Dre and T Money brand. I can't really get into what it actually is because of because it's not done yet. But you know, you'll see it soon. Okay.
Most definitely understandable, you know. So everybody, make sure you stay tuned.
Okay.
Make sure you stay tuned. And T Money, so this is the time in the interview that I give a chance for the individual that comes on, just a chance to give shoutouts to whomever they want to give shoutouts to. And of course, if you can, drop them social media handles and your website one more time. That way our listeners can get a hold of you and follow you if they're not already doing so.
Again, you can holler at me at C450 _. You can hit me up at www.we-r-c450.com. You can hit me at those two places, and you can hit me on Facebook at T450. So holler at me. I get at your boy. If you're actually interested in working with us in some capacity, you can definitely hit me up at T450. Hit me on the DM, and we'll talk about it. See what you got cracking, and we can see if we can make something happen.
And I gotta say, Team Money, quickly, thank you so much again for taking the time out of your evening to come on 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM. I think I can say this for everyone that is listening that grew up in the 90s. Thank you so much for just, putting on a top-notch show with Yo MTV Raps. Everything you did for the hip-hop culture. Thank you so much. You most definitely entertained a lot of us all over the world with Yo MTV Raps. So thank you so much for that.
I appreciate you guys. I thank you so much for having me.
You are most certainly welcome. Thank you so much, Money, and I hope down the road we can make this happen again.
All right, no doubt, man. Talk to you soon. Thank you, bro.
Thank you.